Hello, welcome to a new video. I know it's been a hot minute, but this time it's gonna be something a little bit different. Uh, First, I was playing Genshin for the past few days because I just got back into it. Yo, I have a lot of catching up to do, but that game is fucking fun, so yeah, that's been taking up my time. And also with just like schoolwork from my classes. But yeah, we're back for a little bit something different where I'm going to be talking about if you're cleaving and want to be a cleaver, then what should you build and what should you prioritize? So I've just been strictly cleaving for almost 3 seasons now. And when I mean strictly cleave, I mean like I literally have nothing else built. Like if you see right now on this list, these are like probably the only units I have built. Like I can even show you real fast where okay, so here's my all of my units built. So as you can see, it's all just cleave and some cleave anchors here and there. And yeah, nothing. And then it stops at around Angelica. So I have like no standard units built pretty much. And you probably already know that if you watch my standard video and how much I struggled. But anyways, I just want to talk about if you're gonna cleave, what should you prioritize? So as you can see here, in the top row, these are stuff that you need to have if you want to cleave. Actually, I should probably reorder this a little bit because I didn't really order it. I'll put like the most important in the front. There's really only like Zeo, Briar, another opener like a Rand, but like Rand can be replaced by Knuckle or Pyrrha, so maybe not really Rand. But this unit for sure. I'll keep this unit in the front because you need this unit. But yeah, anyways. So the first row is units that you need to have built, like no matter what. I feel like if you don't have at least half of these, you should try and wait before you start cleaving because anti-cleave is so strong right now that if you don't have a lot of these units that can check those anti-cleave units, then you're just gonna get overwhelmed. Like for example, if you don't have Astromancer Elena, then you're just gonna get counterattacked and then just explode to like an ML Landy or something. Or if you don't have a Rowana, then you're just gonna get like anti-aggression by like a Sage Ball or an Ocean Breeze or an Light KDs and stuff like that. Or if you don't have Bryceria, then you'll get cucked by Destina, by Savior Auden, and stuff like that. So a lot of these units, you should, like, at least the top row, you should have all of these for every scenario that you play against. Now the second row is something that you should have, but it's not as important as the first row, obviously. It's just the second row. So a lot of the imprints will be down here, like Celeste, Veronica, Watcher, Fire Shuri, and Gloomy Rain. And now the reason why some of the other imprints are up here is because these imprints are a lot better than the ones down here. So obviously not everyone can have every imprint built. Yeah, Stern as well, but you should at least have Vildred, Sid, and Wander because they're the best ones. And once you start playing and once you get more of these, then you can start building up these other imprints. The third row is kind of dependent on the meta. Either that or they're strictly arena only units. Like Closer Charles, he's strictly in an arena only unit where he'll make arena so much easier for you. But in RTA, he's it's hard to draft. It kind of depends on what they draft. Same for Faithless Litica, same for Flan, same for all these units really. They're more like a 4 or 5-ish pick, rather than a 1 to 2 pick. Closer Charles can pick 3, Political can pick 3, but not the ones down here. Toy Box is just strictly units where you just want to have fun and you're trying to cook something. Like you have Kaurak here, you have Cez, Giselle, BBK, ML Rin, stuff like this. Out of meta is just units that haven't been meta in Cleave for a very long time, as you can see here. And anchors, I'll get to anchors a little bit later, but just to keep it short, every Cleave team should have 1 or 2 anchors built. So for me, I have Aiden, Sermia, Arya, Ravi, and Krina, but I don't have Navy Landy. And the last row is units that aren't really Cleave, they're more aggro based. You have Landy, Sea Lilies, Lua, Leica, Specteni. There's like more of these, but I just named some of the common ones here. And it's really hard to Cleave with these units because your draft is oriented around not a turn 1 wipe. It's more based on you have Guiding Light, you have Vigor, you have Immunity, CR push-ups with DJB, you're just stunning them over and over. It's kind of hard to be able to draft in a way where these aggro units can synergize with these other Cleave units. Obviously there's like some exceptions. Like if you have Song of Stars Lua, then she will probably be like around here if you're running Song of Stars, so that way you can pair her with a Leica. But besides that, like see Lilius, if you give Vigor to a bunch of 8k HP units, that's not going to really do anything. They're still just going to die, right, in one hit. Same with Steny. If you run Steny in a Cleave team, yeah, she holds Book, but there's other units that do that better, like Politis, like a Leica, like Rowana. And then she's just going to die in one hit to like 1 counterattack or a Karina S3, right? So it's pretty rough. Yeah, so I would if you're just playing if you're playing to Cleave, you don't need these units. But if you're playing to aggro, then you definitely need these units. So yeah, I just wanted to make that distinction between a Cleave and a aggro playstyle. Okay, so finally that's the introduction out of the way. Let's just talk about each unit. So Zio, why Zio? He is a base 10, I think 6 unit that just gives you like 330 speed if he's at like 260 because of his CR push-up. And he's also a great activator for a lot of DPS. I made a Zio Cleave guide earlier. You can watch that to get to know more in depth about him. But yeah, Zio, if you're cleaving, he is a must-have. He is the most important unit to have if you're cleaving. Like when I pulled Zio on his first banner, my account, I had like nothing at the time. My account probably jumped an entire rank from like my account went from a challenger rank to like a champion level rank because of one unit. Because Cleave needs to take turn 1, and what unit takes turn 1? Zio. And if you have Zio, then you don't have to pre-ban him. You can pick him. He's a book holder. He's activated for Summer Break, Euphine, Jacko, and Rowana. It's just this unit does everything for you. So yeah. Briar Witch. Why Briar Witch? Because anti-evasion, AoE anti-evasion, anti-revive, 2 for 1, and she also cucks units that need buffs like Senya and Rimuru. Like she destroys all 3 of those playstyles in one, and that's such a good unit to have. And you can soul burn her too with a Zio book. A Leica is really good because she just instantly deletes a tank. And if you're playing Cleave and you need that one unit to just be gone that fucks your entire team, like let's say an Edward, you can just delete the Edward and then you can just clean up from there, which is no like unit can do what she does right now, where you can just pick a unit and delete. It's very, very nice thing to have. Elena, this is just pretty straightforward. It's just for counterattackers. That's really it. Jacko's. So I wouldn't say Jacko Cleave's like anything crazy, but you should still have a Jacko built because besides Rowana, she is the other best follow-up off of Zio. And she can, if you draft like Zio, Jacko, Rowana, then you can give Rowana the what do you call it? The Chains of Chiron buff, where your Rowana will just maybe get a stun off or something. Who knows? And her damage is fantastic too. She just struggles into Karina. Okay, and Ran. I feel like Ran is the premier Cleave opener still, where he just sets up so much for your team. Where you have AoE strip, you have AoE defense break, and you have AoE stigma. All of that is just insane to have. And you don't have to build ER on him. His S1 destroys fire units like Ed. He gives immunity to your team so you don't get cucked by Edward's S2. just does a lot for your setup. He activates your Summertime, your Ada, your Astromancer, your Rowana, your what else is there? There's probably another AoE opener I'm forgetting, but yeah. Oh, Jacko as well. There's just a lot that he can activate off of, and he's just still really insane. But he's kind of falling off of the meta just because Cleave isn't doing too hot right now, but he's still a must-have if you're gonna Cleave. Rowana, this is the new like Cleave savior. When she first came out, she solved the Sage Ball issue, where Sage Ball was, in my opinion, the best anti-Cleave unit in the game at the time, because you needed to draft like 3 answers to Sage Ball if you wanted to beat him. Yeah, they needed a super high effect in Ezio, like a 250 effect in Ezio. But then if you do that, then you lose to tank comps. The other way was drafting Rand Politis, but that in itself is risky because they don't activate, like they don't really synergize well. Rand Politis, they need like a Karina, like acting as a bridge for them, like an enemy Karina. So that's why it's a bit risky. But Rowana solved the I push CR every turn issue, where she just pushes them back and resets them. So units like Light Acades, Ocean Breeze, Sage Ball, they're all just useless anti-Cleave units now because of this one unit. Now the only exception is if they're on immunity. That's the only I guess counter. But if you run immunity, then you won't be building as like high ER, otherwise it'll be kind of pointless, right? So if they don't have as much ER, then your Zeo can strip and push them back, and then it'll just be the same thing. So yeah, Rowana is a must-have. She resets, she activates your Summertime for you. Her defense break S1, she can actually beat Karina's because she's just built like that, I guess. She can defense break with a Soul Burn. Her S1 does so much damage. It does like 7k on a defense broken target after the splash. It's insane. AoE cooldown reset, is a book holder. Yeah, unit's cracked. Okay, Ada is strictly here as a bridge for your other DPS, while also being able to activate off of non-attack skills. So Ada's like, you kind of need to have experience before you start playing Ada, but she's one of those units that is an amazing 4/5, where she acts as a bridge for your units while also taking the... She doesn't need a bridge. Well, that's not what I'm saying. She acts as a bridge while doing insane DPS and having like CC built into her kit. She has like so many things in her kit. It's kind of insane. And she activates off of your Ran as well, or anyone that uses the non-attack skill. It's just, she's a good unit to have, and she's on book, so. Politis, strictly only there for the S2 really, and the fact that she can hold book, that's really it. Having the S2 passive where they can't push up is pretty privileged, stopping all CR gain, and it's just nice to have. And she does a lot of damage with the S2, S3. Strays, must build for dealing with tank comps. Like if you're playing against tank teams like LRK, Scarowell, Karina, all that stuff, Straze is your best friend. Straze Elika for sure. Summertime, this Summertime lets you deal with evasion. Another way to deal with evasion besides Briar and Zahak. And the problem, she also deals with Karina at the same time. Like the problem with Briar and Zahak, they lose to Karina. Briar obviously she doesn't unless you have, if you have a Soul Burn it's fine, but if you don't have Soul Burn, then Karina will beat Briar. But Summertime deals with both of them, like both evasion and water units, because she doesn't need a hit chance check for her bombs to land. And being able to stun, being able to do a lot of damage, it's just, she cycles extremely fast because she gives herself speed buff. It's just a really nice unit to have if you're cleaving. Like Ran, there's always the good old Ran area, you know. Obviously loses to Ed Designer, but that's where the anchors come in later. Vildred is just your standard speed imprint. You only pick him during races, and if you get Wanderer plus Vildred through in a speed imprint race, then you're set to go. Wanderer plus Vildred is one of the best imprint combos you can do. If you put your Guiding Light on Wanderer Silk, and then you S2 with your Wanderer Silk, and you brings Vildred. And if you're imprint racing someone, all their units are like probably like 8k HP. Vildred kills with the S1, and he gets to S2 right after and kill the rest of the team. I don't know how many games I've won by doing stuff like that. It's just amazing. Zahak is also a must build because Aiden is everywhere, and it's kind of insane how we still don't really have like a consistent way to beat an Aiden, because even Zahak isn't the best answer to Aiden because they can draft ML Landy, they can draft hella mitigation. Saber Audits are so tanky now where they can actually eat Zahak S3s or LPK's S2s with that fat barrier and mitigation with Aureus and Escort. It's kind of insane. We need like a guaranteed like crit / guaranteed hit / guaranteed ignore damage mitigation. That sounds crazy to say, but that's how oppressive Saber Aiden is as an anti-Cleaving. It's insane. But yeah, Zahak. Why Zahak over LPK is because Zahak has the S2 push up, which it makes him a lot more flexible than LPK, where you can change the speed tuning of your team on the fly if you want someone else to take the turn before someone else to go, and giving them attack buff, it cleanses them of debuffs. So if you have like a Ran or something like that, and then Edward S2s and then debuffs one of your teammates, you can just cleanse that off with Zahak and stuff. So yeah, Sid, he's just very versatile. I think he's probably the best imprint in the game. He kind of needs really good gear, but he's just extremely versatile because he can one-shot a lot of anti-cleave stuff with the soul burn, and he can pick 2 off if he has the crit damage buff and he's on Windrider. It's just kind of OP. You get to delete almost 2 units for free, and he's an imprint, so and there's not many counters to Sid because what he does is pretty unique. He's like a single target nuke that gets to go again that doesn't use non-attack skills. So C Pavel. So C Pavel isn't really meta right now, just because there's just a lot of, it's hard to set up with him, especially with ML Landy and evasion on the field. But he's still someone you should have built just because he's extremely like he's a flexible pick where if you just look at your team and you notice that, oh, I have 2 ways to activate crit, then you would just pick C Pavel. It doesn't matter what your team comp is. Like if you have like a crit Para just chilling there somewhere, and you're like, oh, I need like a guaranteed activate off my Para, but then you don't want to pick Summertime because they have Designer or Edward or something, then you would pick C Pavel here. Yeah, he's just a flexible pick is all, even though he's hard to draft, but he's still an important member to have if you're cleaving. Okay, now I go to the second row. I probably won't do all the rows just because it'll be way too long. I'll just like maybe speed run the other ones. So Ahmed, she is, so this is before ML Euphem's release. I think after ML Eupheme is out, Ahmed is going to drop down to like here, because her biggest counter right now is Politis, and the reason for that is because of her S2 passive. But ML Eupheme now also has Politis' S2 passive, so now she's going to be extremely hard to first pick, or just pick in general. Like you'll have to pick her like 3 or 4 at this point now. There's just too many counters to her exist. Like it doesn't help with Moon Bunny being out, doesn't help with ML Landy being out. Like Ahmed's the one that got hurt the most after all of these. There's Ocean Breeze as well. Like when she first came out, she had like no counters except like Politis. But then you would just either pre-ban Politis or pick Politis with Ahmed. But now it's just, there's too many counters to her now. It's insane. Nakwal is really good in Cleave. The only reason why she's on Prioritize is because, and not in the top tier, is because she's like probably the hardest unit to build for cleaving. She needs like 310 speed with her own already at level 30. It's just super hard to reach stats. But if you're able to hit those stats, then yeah, she will be godlike for you. Bind is OP, so that's all I really have to say. Para is just a worse Rand for cleaving. Obviously she's better if you're not cleaving, but in the cleave only sense, Rand is better. But they essentially do the same roles. So if you don't have Rand but you have Para, then build up a Para. Sunrick Charlotte, she's only here for as a follow-up to Zio and to deal with Saber Auden to an extent. Or if you put her on Briggs Artifact and she gets a hit chance, it's like a 50-50 and she can one-tap unit, which is really nice. And she won't be able to proc counter even if you miss because it's on a follow-up attack, not a attack on her own turn. Surin, just regular 14 speed imprint, but she's the worst imprint out of every single one because she can't hold Sahashitanes. Celeste is only there for imprint racing as well, obviously because she's an imprint, but she has the rare capability of being a really easy opener to build while also being an imprint at the same time. She's like Sid, where they both act as openers while also being imprints. But Celeste is just a little bit easier to get that job done because she's like a little bit higher base speed. And she can be put on Guiding Light, so you don't care about Zio if they're imprint racing. Veronica, she is another imprint you should have built just because she deals with BBK and K-Rod. That's pretty much it. And Bryce area after anti-cleaving with her. That's literally it. Watcher Shuri, he's a good imprint to have if you're if you need a Sash proc and Shuri's already taken. But besides that, I'll probably put him like that. Yeah, Shuri's the better imprint to have because he gives 4 more speed. Gloomy Rain only for one purpose. She's the only imprint in the game that can hold bug. So if your speed lead is a Para, and you're racing someone, then you would pick Gloomy Rain. So you can soul burn your Para and stun someone. So you don't have to draft follow up if that's the case. You could just pick 4 imprints plus Para, and then just soul burn like their fastest unit, and then yeah, just disable a unit. It's like a Zio pretty much. Closer Charles is here just as an arena pick, like I mentioned earlier. His kit is very unique though. Like his kit is the only one that it's like an AoE attack that doesn't trigger counterattacks, but also pushes up your whole team and gives you attack buff while not using a non-attack skill. That's a very specific thing where it's actually beneficial if you have things like Straze, Watcher Shuri, C Pavel, stuff like that. But yeah, he's just a little bit hard to draft, so he's mainly an arena pick. Same thing with Flitica. Her and Closer Charles are pretty similar. The only difference is that Flitica is on a single target and Charles is on an AoE. But yeah, pretty much the same unit in terms of cleave. Flan, problem with her is immunity is everywhere and her base speed is pretty low. It's only 115, so she gets outsped by a lot of things. So yeah, hard to draft her, but if you have insane gear, then she can work. P-Flan, she also kind of depends on the meta. Like, she's more of an aggro pick, but there is a team comp where you can pick her with Summertime and start bombing the whole team. And she has like a push-up as well, and it's just a decent follow-up. Green Pavel is... See, I was stuck between Karak, like whether Karak is better or Pavel's better. When like Mage Frenzy was a thing, like Karak was way better than Pavel. But now that it's gone, I think Pavel's probably better. Karak and Pavel do the exact same role. It's just a one-tap aggro teams by themselves. And they both do that job. It's just Pavel is a little bit easier because his base speed is higher. So that's pretty much it. He's just there to one-tap aggro units. Yeah. Kisei, she's only here as an Ahmed follow-up. But since Ahmed isn't really... My guess is that Ahmed's gonna fall off pretty hard after Yufein's release. So my guess is that Kisei is also gonna fall off pretty hard. You can run speed Kiseis, but I don't really think those builds are anything crazy if you're cleaving with them. Because she needs to have that Omega damage where you can S3, S2 with the Ahmed CR manipulation thing. TML, she's in the same boat as Karik. The only difference is that at least TML is a bridge. So if you have the speed gear, she can act as a bridge and do what Cold Charles does, except on a non-attack skill. And that's pretty much it for TML, yeah. Just acts as a bridge, gives your whole team attack buff. Yufine, now if this was 2 seasons ago, Yufine would be in must-have because you can run Zio Yufine. But obviously now Jacko exists and Rwanda exists, so Yufine's place fell off a little bit. She still does. You would still pick Zio Yufine if you're playing into Karina, but that's like the only scenario. Yeah, like she's just good into Karina, but then like Rwanda is also good into Karina, so you don't even need to pick Yufine in that scenario as well. So her place is kind of fallen off, but she's still a good unit. Last piece, Karen. I already mentioned this. She's just a worse Zahak in my opinion. She's faster, but then it's kind of mitigated by the fact that you need to have 100% crit chance. Zahak only needs 50. So that 50% crit chance that you're building on LPK, that can go into speed for Zahak on the other side. And Zahak also has that S2 push-up, which LPK doesn't have. So her utility isn't as strong as well. But she's still pretty good. Being able to, I think her S2 ignores damage sharing, but the problem is that ML Landy still exists, and she needs to be able to crit through ML Landy. Yeah. And she also needs like insane damage gear to work. Toy Box, this is just like if you're just having fun, like I mentioned. So Karik is just Pavel 2.0, but just worse. Eligos, he got a buff, but I don't think it's still anything too crazy. Like, if you're cleaving, right, then if they pick Rand, then you're just gonna pick Imprints anyways. And like his issue, in my opinion, his issue wasn't the hit chance. My issue with him is that he gets his perception after he does his bomb attack, or I think that's how it works. And he gets his perception after he attacks, so he doesn't make use of the 15% crit chance. He still needs 100% crit chance for him to operate. That is what I think his problem is. The hit chance is nice versus Aiden. Like, I guess that's like the only benefit. But him versus like Blue Openers didn't really matter in the first place. Yeah. And his damage is also a little bit lackluster as well. Opsig. Now, Opsig's down here is because, yes, she penetrates defense by 100%, but she just can't break through tanks. Even then, only reason is because of mitigation. Like, her S2 doesn't ignore damage mitigation. So, if you attack like a barrier unit and they have escort, it's gonna be pretty hard to kill. Like, at least my Opsig, she can't one-tap Karinas if they have Scarewall. But yeah, that's probably just a build diff. So if you have a really cracked Opsig, then she might be working better for you. But also, due to the fact that a lot of Cleaves rely on debuffs, then a lot of your drafts is going to involve stripping barriers. Like, you have Zio who does that, you have Alaika, you have Rand, you have Bryceria, Ada. A lot of these units that can just not Cole as well, that just gets rid of barriers for you, which makes her S2 pointless because they need barriers. So she's kind of hard to draft. RB, he's just also there. You can like push out with RB, S3, and then he dies and the S3s again and he blows up a team. Pretty much it. Ludwig is just, in my opinion, a worse Kisei follow-up for Ahmed, so that's why. Emma Lilius, her problem is that her S2 is a non-attack skill, and that could hoe her over when you're playing against Ocean Breezes, Politises, and now Yufine. So that push-up can actually hoe you. and her damage multipliers are also a bit low, so she can't kill tanks if they're on also have mitigation on their side. So like for example, Eula plus Scarrow. Says is just another flex pick. Pick him with Ahmed or pick him with Alot's flange. Just boost him up to the front, Soulburn the S3, and then watch the whole team explode. But you need like 6k attack for that. Giselle's pretty much the same thing. Just push up to the front and then just CR manipulate your team. And then, you know, BBK is also pretty much the same thing. Just push up to the front, Soulburn with BBK, and then their whole team dies. But yeah, obviously it's hard to get away with doing that, where you can just push up a unit that's like 170 speed all the way to the front and just nuke with them, because they could just ban that push unit, right? That's why Ahmed Kisei doesn't really work. ML Rin, just she got buffs. She's still kind of hard to use because she needs effectiveness as well, while also needing 100 crit chance, while also needing insane speed, like 310-ish, to be able to take the turn. It's just hard to pick ML Rin, but it is a flex pick, so. Alright, I'll just quickly go over these auto meta picks. So you have Cerise, who's just, I probably don't have to explain this. Alot, he's just too slow. Same thing with Alfeld. Acid, the meta is just way too tanky to use Acid. Same with Melissa. Same with C-Dom. Same with Coley, and same with Furious. They all just don't do much damage right now. Now, talked about the anchors. I actually ordered this category. I ordered the best anchor to the worst anchor for your team. I feel like you should have at least 2 anchors built if you're cleaving. So that could be, preferably if you have Savior Auden and ML Landy, those could be your 2 anchors, and you'll just fly through every game. Like, I feel like one of the best drafts right now, if you're cleaving, is first picking ML Landy into a Zeo Rand cleave draft. That sounds so oppressive to deal with, because you take the best anti-cleave unit away from them, and then you pre-ban, let's say, like Bellion and Savior Auden. How do you lose, right? You just, if they pick like Edit Designer, then Lanny just kills them all eventually with salvos and lifesteal and all that stuff. They can't kill Landy with the anti-crit. It's just like, well, what do you do? It's like, and you can't pick Lionheart because Lionheart just gets destroyed by Zeo Rand Cleave. So it's like, well, fuck. So yeah, that's why I think ML Landy's the best anchor, followed by Aiden for similar reasons. Lionheart's good versus the Politis and Ed. Same with Arya. A-Robbie's good versus a lot of stuff that don't do much damage that are running anti-cleave, so like Ocean Breeze, Politis as well. What else is there? Sage Ball, stuff like that. Karina is there for dealing with Zeo. So if you don't pre-ban Zeo and Zeo gets through, and you pick like a Rand, you can pick a Karina. So Zeo's forced to S3 the Rand, which will push up your own Karina, and then you can go from there. Now the last category is stuff that you don't really need. This is like the aggro list. Landy, it's sort of hard to cleave with Landy because you're gonna need to get full fighting spirit on turn 1 somehow. So you're gonna need to fight against a team that has hella buffs. But those teams kind of ruin cleave. So like for example, let's say they have ML Landy plus Scarrow, right? And then you push up your Landy to the front. Yes, you'll penetrate 50% defense, and it's like, and then what? They still have all of their buffs. They probably didn't take too much damage, maybe like half health. And then it's like, well, you kind of lost, dude. Like, she pushes up your team, and then what's the next move, right? Like, you're gonna have your 2 openers, and then plus a Landy who won't be doing that much damage, / won't be disabling anyone, which is like a key part of why you want Landy, right? Or why you want to cleave, so you can disable units. and then they still have all their buffs. They still have anti-crit. They still have barriers if they have LRK, and then it's like you have that one unit that goes next, like a Straze or something. And then what if Straze can't kill because if they have anti-crit, right? So it's just like hard to really pick Landy. See Lilius, I mentioned this because her vigor buff is useless for cleaving. You have 8k, but 30% defense increase to an 800 defense unit doesn't really do much, and they all just explode to Landy's S2 or Saber Audience S2 anyways. I said Lua's the only exception if you're on Song of Stars. Command Model Leica is not really a cleave opener because where are her activators, right? She takes the turn and then what? Who goes after Command Model Leica? If they have like a C Lilius, then she's just gonna take her turn, assuming you didn't sleep. Or if they're on immunity, like on Lua with Guiding Light, then you do the move, you do the S3, and then what happens after? Nothing. Specteni, I mentioned her. She kind of just explodes to anti-cleave, like Karina and Landy. DJB, kind of an aggro pick because yes, he pushes up, yes, he gets immunity, but you kind of need something more if you're gonna be able to do something like that. And you run him with Eternus also, but that means you're giving away turn 1 to your opponent, but you don't want to do that if you're clean. So yeah, that's the same reason with Moon Bunny. Solitaria is just aggro. Like, she's just a slow play style where you just need to stun over and over and over again, but that's not really viable in Cleave because all it takes is one counter attack and then your whole team dies. And Shadow Shoe is just an injury unit, but yeah, you don't care about injury for cleaving. So yeah, that was a pretty long video, but I think I got through all the units. Just TLDR, build this first row if you're gonna cleave. Just have all of these units built if you're deciding on cleave. Otherwise, I would just wait a bit, wait till their manners come out, and then pull for them, and then be able to use a playstyle like this. It's very, very gear and unit intensive, I can't lie. But yeah, I think that's it. I will try to record something else within the next few days, but I hope you enjoyed this one. See ya, guys.